Hi, I'm Miranda Culpepper with JagTV Investigates, a show where we give you the answers on hot topics and pressing issues concerning the students and the university. This is JagTV Investigates. On today's episode of JagTV Investigates, we will be covering the H1N1 virus, better known as swine flu. We'll be able to sit down with Dr. Franks, the Vice President of the Health Services. Let's hear what he had to say.
It turns out that this virus is transmitted primarily through droplets from one person to the next, and very often that means that the droplets end up on our hands. Shaking hands with someone who is contagious but may not yet have symptoms is very frequently how the virus spreads.
I'm really careful. My biggest thing is when I go to use the restroom, I actually have noticed that in most of the buildings there's actually a trash can right by the second doorway, but I always make sure to grab extra paper towels so I don't have to open the handle, because I know there's so many people who don't wash their hands, and I think that it can spread really quickly that way. And
so if that virus, which can last 20 minutes or more alive on an inanimate surface, during that 20 minutes, if you happen to rub your nose or your eye or touch your lips, that virus will then get in through that mucous membrane and start to reproduce, and the next thing you know, you've got symptoms.
There's a lot of talk in the news and everything about it, but I haven't been too worried about it as far as just washing my hands and making sure when I sneeze in the cup of my arm. But other than that, I'm not too worried about it.
I feel okay about it. I don't personally know anyone who's had it, but I know it's going around a lot, so I just take precautions, wash my hands everywhere, especially while I'm at school, cover my mouth if I have to sneeze or anything.
Actually, I had a student worker who was diagnosed with swine flu, and we sent her home. I sent her home. She came in sick, and we told her to go to the doctor, and it turned out she had the flu. So we cleaned carefully. So we're all a little extra precautious. Some of us in the South are still touchy-feely. So we still hug and shake hands, but we're just learning to, to use sanitizers. And lots of times, I've traveled overseas a lot, so I keep hand sanitizers in my purse for years anyway.
We are seeing a lot of students in our health service that have come in with flu symptoms. Caution to stay in their room or go home, whatever is most convenient, and to keep the exposure of others down to as low as possible. We have food service that will make meals available to them. The faculty are working overtime to help make it convenient for them to get their study materials when they're ready to start returning to their studies, but not yet cleared to go back to class. More flexible as far as attendance rules, and if they have to miss a test because of it, their faculty have been very cooperative to the extent that they can be in helping reschedule the exams for students.
Do you think teachers should be more lenient with absentees?
Yeah, I think so. If the person is willing to come back and get back on track with their classes and everything, I think the teacher should give them a break.
We're human, we get sick. We can't really help it, so I think the teachers really should be lenient.
Those that are college age actually are at risk of getting the flu, but not necessarily high risk in terms of serious complications. Those in their 20s and 30s have likely not been exposed to this type of virus in the past. And so as a result, when they get it, they're going to feel miserable. That doesn't mean that we'll be serious, and so far we've had very few serious complications with this. We've had a few deaths, but much less the rate of deaths than we see actually with normal seasonal flu.
Do you know any of the symptoms of the swine flu?
I don't actually.
I hear they're a lot different from regular flu, but a lot of nauseousness. I'm not really sure exactly though.
Maybe headache. Not sure about fever.
Right now, the H1N1 flu has mainly upper respiratory symptoms. With sore throat, stuffy nose, some cough, headache, fever. Occasionally you'll see some nausea and vomiting with it. Aches and pains, just feeling fatigued, and all you want to do is go to bed and wait for it to pass.
If the vaccine is offered at school, do you plan on getting it?
Probably not. I'm not really big on vaccines. I've had luck so far, knock on wood, without getting vaccines, but like I said, I just try to take precautions and do what I can to try not to get sick.
My family in the past has been against them, and I think, if it was an injection, maybe this year, though I'm a little bit worried that I would get sick. So the idea of getting a vaccination to keep me from getting sick and then actually getting sick would not help. But the vaccination is a nasal spray, and it seems to me like that might not be as effective as, say, an injection.
Not quite sure about that yet. I haven't given it a lot of thought. I have thought about it, but not too sure at this point.
Normally, we see the seasonal flu occurring a little later in the year, or earlier in the new year. So the usual times are during the winter. And so you start to see it rise in early or late November, early December, and the peak months are usually February, late January, February, and March. Now, to see H1N1 have an early peak like this is somewhat concerning to us, because we are fearful that there might be another peak coming that might even be more intense early next winter. On the other hand, not being able to predict the future, it may be that we've seen the worst of it, and maybe it'll tail off and we won't see another peak next spring, or next winter. However, to be on the safe side, we are preparing that in case that peak comes, that we're not caught by surprise. So we'll keep our fingers crossed, hope that it won't happen, but if it does, we're preparing for it so that we can tend to people that are sick.
So today we've heard some interesting stories and facts concerning the swine flu virus. Hopefully this information will be helpful to you in knowing how to protect yourself and take those extra precautions. Remember to wash your hands. And this is Miranda Culpepper with JagTV Investigates. See you next time.